Coming to you today, tonight, depending on where you are in the world, in the country. And tonight, I am going to be talking about how to measure value in business. And I thought this would be a very good topic because it will help me to expand on what I have been talking about for the past 3 weeks. So, for the past 3 weeks, I did a series here on YouTube, underwriting the deal, how to underwrite your next real estate deal. And during those past 3 weeks, I kind of outlined some of the things that you, as a real estate investor or professional, can do to be able to measure what type of funding or financing you need to use in real estate in order to do your next deal. And I primarily focused on alternative financing. Normally on this channel, if you are new to me, just want to introduce myself. My name is Lorelia, and I am not new to the conversation of what I want to talk about tonight, which is real estate. And I primarily talk about financing your deals creatively in real estate, being able to leverage alternative funding and financing strategies. And so I primarily work with real estate investors, and I like to say professionals, ideally, who are all earning at minimum six figures in their business. And I made the distinction during the last 3 weeks of a real estate professional and a real estate investor. And so during the last 3 weeks prior to today, I went into that anybody can call themselves a real estate investor. Anyone can, put that moniker on them. And so the real estate professional, what differentiates the two is the professional has actually did some things in real estate. They've did some investing, they're earning some type of income depending on, it doesn't matter what it is they're doing, but they're doing something. And a lot of times real estate investors is really just that person who, what the light bulb came on. They said, hey, I want to invest in real estate. And maybe they've gotten a LLC, maybe they watched a few training videos, maybe they even went to some workshops, but they haven't bridged the gap between this is what I want to do and how I'm going to get there. And that leads me to tonight's topic on how to measure value in business. And the reason why I say in business, because really, although the scope of the conversation tonight is real estate, ideally, I like to say business is because real estate is a business. It doesn't matter what it is you're doing, even if you are selling cupcakes, it is a business. But of course, I'm not talking about cupcakes tonight. I'm talking about real estate. And so let's get into what I wanted to talk about, how to measure value. So, like I said, for the past 3 weeks, I have been talking about being able to underwrite your next real estate deal, leveraging alternative financing. And I had someone who responded by email because in my email communication, I talked about me discussing this topic. And I had someone who responded back and said, Lorelia, I don't see any value in what it is that you share. Now, let me tell you this, many people would have clutched their pearls. Oh my God, they don't see value in what I'm doing. And they would have tucked their head underneath their legs, disappeared on social media, and they would have been all in their feelings about this one person don't see value in what it is that they're doing. Now, I'm going to tell you this, I respect that individual who said they don't see any value in what I do. And this is the measuring stick that if you're watching this video, I want you to use before the next time you decide to take any action, to work with someone, to invest in a course, to invest in coaching, to invest in a consultation, whatever it may be, what you need to do in order to measure if it's valuable. Now, the number one thing that you want to do to be able to measure value. And before I get into that, let me just say this: value is subjective. At the end of the day, it's subjective. So I couldn't be mad at that person saying they didn't see any value because it's subjective. What is valuable to one person may not be valuable to another person. Let me give you an example. And I'm going to use me, primarily. Last week, I talked about the investing that I do in real estate. I invest in real estate notes, mortgage notes, that is. And I talked about how if you are an individual, you have the ability to go to the banks, hedge funds, or what have you, and or private equity firms and buy any type, whether it's first position mortgage notes, second position mortgage notes, performing notes, non-performing notes. You have the ability as a professional to buy a mortgage note and become the bank. Last week, I did a whole video along with a case study about it. And I talked about what I'm currently working on, what I'm doing myself. Because normally I share the success stories of my clients. But I said, you know what? I'm going to start sharing my own success stories. Because for some people, and I'm going to go into that, they want to be able to measure value. And so, as I shared the information and I went into what is possible to be able to build your real estate portfolio, to obtain passive income, to just position yourself financially with real estate outside of the norm of what most people are familiar with. You ask anybody about real estate, they know about fix and flips, they know about buy and holds, they may even know about commercial. Now they may not even do it themselves, but they're familiar with it. They know it exists. But you take something like mortgage notes, most lay people don't even know that that is even possible. Even seasoned professionals in real estate. I mean, I'm talking about people who are doing deals. They can confirm, and it is documented that they make over six figures, whether it's a high six figures or mid six figures. It is documented that they can make that money, but they don't even know that there are areas of real estate that don't even that exist. And so what happens is, if you are interested in how to fix and flip a home, then learning about mortgage notes is not going to tickle your fancy. It don't matter if a person laid out the whole game plan, gave you resources to the bank, told you how you're going to be able to purchase the mortgage notes, showed you how to structure it, whereas you can receive a stream of income passively, share with you how you can now transition from being a landlord, if that's what you are, to being a lien lord, where you now have a lien against the property that someone owns, and now someone is paying you, the bank, with their mortgage. If you're not interested in that, you're not going to see any value in it. And so I respect when a person says, I don't see value, because a lot of what I do is really subjective. Anybody, for that matter. Everything that someone does, it is subjective. Because at the end of the day, it depends on what you are looking for. What you are looking for as a real estate professional, as a real estate investor, as a business owner. You need to be very clear on what you are looking for. So when a person can say, I don't see value, what that translates to me is what they're looking for, and they're certain that they're looking for it, I'm not providing it. Now, let me give you another example. with what I do with business funding. If a person is looking for how to get a business credit card, they are certain, they are confident. I just want to be able to get an American Express card or a Chase Sapphire, or I want to be able to accumulate points to be able to fly around the country on just my points. And here I'm talking about business funding. I'm talking about alternative financing. I'm talking about all the different funding methods that is even possible for you to build and expand your real estate portfolio. But that person only wants a credit card. They're never going to see the information that I share being of value, because they are clear on what it is that they want. Let me break it down to you even further. How you measure value in terms of what it is that you're trying to do. If you are trying to get access to funding, then be very clear on that. Drill down even further. The last couple of weeks, I went into that, because it's easy for someone to just say, "Hey, I'm looking for $250,000,000," and when I obtain $250,000,000, I done made it. And this is my answer to this, and I talked about it last week. If you have not really corrected what is the underlying want of what you are trying to obtain, meaning that a lot of times people don't want the $250,000,000. People don't really want the credit card, because I always tell clients, so let me get this straight. You really just want debt, because at the end of the day, any type of financing, any type of funding, it is going to go into translating into debt. If you do not properly understand how to leverage the money, if you don't properly know how to manage the money, if you properly don't even know how to assess what it is that you have right there in your hands, you are always going to be in a state of, I need, I need, I need, I need. I need, I need, I need, I need. Because what you really want is not real estate. What you really want is really not business funding. What you really want is really not even that American Express black card. What you want really is going to require you to go deeper. All those things are surface things, which is why a person can be in the state of saying, I don't see value in something. Because really, and this is what I know, and I don't even need a person to tell me. I know that that person is in a place of not having. Not having. They have ever owned any real estate. They have never did their first real estate transaction. They've never had a credit card over $10,000 or 15. So what happens is, when that person is in a state of I don't have, they don't know that they're in that state, but they are. It's going to be hard for them to now get into the state of having. That's why I tell people that, the work that I do and how I help people, it has nothing to do with this very complicated method of getting funding. It's very cut and dry. It's black or white. You either have it or you don't. Your business is either bringing in money or it's not. You either have something to leverage or you don't. But what's not going to happen is you be at zero and expecting to get a very big result. because what happens is you are in the state of not having. So on a conscious level, I don't have no money. I don't have no credit. I don't own no real estate. But for some way, you are looking for someone to tell you how you're going to magically go from I don't have this, I'm not willing to do the work that it takes to get this, but I think I should just have it. And I don't see any value in what you're sharing because you're not telling me how I can get there just like that. That's why I said, that's why I said, I respect when a person don't see value in anything because it is subjective. It goes into what I talked about last week when I said I had a client that on paper, perfect equity in her primary home, good credit, six-figure income. On paper, they had everything that was required to be able to obtain the money that they needed. And they were able to get it with me, and they were even able to get it before they came to me. But what the person didn't know was that that client, they were always in a cycle of when I get the money dissipates. When I get the money dissipates. And they never can understand that I'm getting this money, but I don't understand why I can't get this outcome. Because the outcome was to be able to take the funding and to invest in real estate. And it wasn't because of there was no real estate available. What it really became a case of, and what that person didn't know was that they were always in a state of not having. So even when it was physically there right in front of them from the start, credit good, had the income, equity in the home, access to buy properties, it would eventually dissipate because they were never in the state of having. Never in the state of having. And so, if you are that person that's saying, I have been trying to obtain this, but I can't, and I want to be sure that what it is that you provide, not just me or anyone, is going to help me, meaning the person. They need to go within. They need to ask themselves, what is it that I really want? Because at the end of the day, if it's just a credit card, then call a spade a spade. Most people, that is really all they want. They just really want a credit card. The real estate, they could take it or leave it. Because I always tell people, if you want to invest in real estate, and I talked about that in week 2 during the 3 weeks that I had when I did the series. If you want to invest in real estate, lack of money is not the reason. Now, it only becomes the reason when there are certain deals that you want to do. And I went into that. When you want to start investing in multifamilies or commercials and commercial properties, and you don't have any funds yourself to put into the deal, any skin in the game, then of course, yeah, you need access to money. You need access to relationships. You need access to somebody else's money. You need something. But that doesn't mean you can't be able to obtain real, because most of the time, people who say, I want to invest in real estate, but I can't do it because I don't have no money, they are newbies. I talked about that 2 weeks ago. They're newbies. They have never owned any real estate. Or if they've owned real estate, what they're having a problem with is that when they went and bought their primary home, they worked with a real estate agent and a mortgage professional who had to pre qualify them. That person had to see were they in the financial position to be able to buy the home? So what happens is when they come into the investor side, they're still bringing that limited belief into what it is that they want to do, which is invest in real estate on a much bigger level. But now they've created a story of, I need money. Hence, what I said a few minutes ago. Yeah, depending on the type of deal, yes, you're going to need some money. You are going to need some money. I'm never here to tell people. I'm not the person that's going to say you can become a real estate millionaire tomorrow using no money. Now you got to be able to have access to something, whether you are leveraging other people's money, whether you are leveraging your own money, but you have to have something. That's why it goes back to using myself as an example. Last week, when I went into the case study of being able to invest in real estate notes, and I talked about the business funding capital stack, I talked about the unsecured funding, I talked about the secured funding. I talked about, you know what? I had people, I had people respond, and I didn't even see it. Hey, I think it was Sigma Enigma, greetings from West Hollywood. Thank you for joining. I know I may be a little late to the party, for just acknowledging I didn't have the chat feature up. But and I talked about the different levels: unsecured, secured, asset based, and then private equity. All those funding sources that I show people how to be able to leverage, there are different entry points in order to do the deal. The deal that I showed, my own deal, what I'm doing in mortgages. But the top level to be able to access any type of funding that you want is private capital. You know, being able to leverage your own self-directed IRA, someone else's self-directed IRA. Maybe they have some real estate funds. Maybe they just have money in the bank that they know that there is an ability for me to earn a higher return on my current money. Because remember, I talked about last week, at each level, there's a different skill. There's a different skill level that you're going to have to tap into. So most people are at the lowest level that they're at when it comes to accessing capital, being able to, get access to money, is they are at the lowest level, which is, how do I get some money? How do I get some money? That's the lowest level. How do I get some money? They want money right now, even though everything around them shows that there's no lack of resources. Because this is what I tell clients all the time. Whether you believe that you can get access to funding and invest in real estate, whether you believe it or not, rest assured, I don't care where you live, anywhere in United States or even outside this country, people gonna still be doing real estate deals, even with all the doom and gloom. The sky is falling, the banks are closing, people can't find housing, whatever the case may be. Understand, money is still being circulated. You may not be in the number, because remember I said the lowest level when it comes to funding is the person who's like, how can I get some money? How can I get some money? That's the lowest level. Now, once they bust through that limiting belief and they know, okay, access to funding is possible, they have properly leveraged it, that now it becomes a case of, okay, how can I get this money to make more money? That's another belief system that they now have to work with, because they've already bust through the first one. The first one is how do I? And now they have the money. And now the second level is, okay, I have the money. How can I get this to grow into more money? Let me give you an example of what I tell clients. If I help you get six figures in funding, whether it's personal or business, don't matter. If you can't double that amount of money, at the end of the day, you never had a funding problem. You never had a funding problem. You have a business problem. You took a broken business and you added money to it, and you thought adding money into a broken business, and broken business meaning your mindset was broken. You don't know how to operate the business, but you're thinking that if I just pour some money into it, voila, it turns into $1 million enterprise. That's not how it happens. Because this is what I tell people when it comes to, as I said earlier, being able to invest in real estate. If you don't know how to find deals with no money, if you don't know how to analyze deals with no money, you're not going to magically know how to analyze deals once you get access to six figures in funding. That's not how that works. You got to already know how it works. You got, oh, I don't know what a deal looks like. I can't analyze a deal. Don't know if a deal slapped me in the face tomorrow. But if I get six figures in funding, voila, I'll know how to look at the deal. Doesn't work like that. But understand that's the next level. First level, how do I get some money? How do I get some money? Person just yeah, they just walking around with their head cut off. How do I get some money? How do I get some money? Okay, once they kind of settle their brain, they learn something, now they've gotten access to money. The second level is, okay, I have this funding. How can I now turn it to more money? The next level above that, all taking different skill sets, all taking limited beliefs they have to bust through. But the next level is now, okay, I know how to get it. I know how to grow it. Now, how can I be able to show other people how I can help them to the money that they have grow into more money? And that's where you being or a person investing in what you have in their private investors, because you can communicate to them how a deal works, what money is can be made on the deal, what's the return on the investment, what's the return they're going to get on their money. A deal when you see it. There you go. That's a whole nother level. So understand, the person who is at the bottom level, that's the lowest level. They all over the internet. They are, how do I get some money? I'm trying to get somebody. Who gonna give me some money? That's the lowest level. And it still doesn't mean that if that person is at that level, they're going to elevate. Everybody doesn't elevate. A lot of people stay on that level. Why? It goes back to, like I said, the client that I have, because they are always in a state of not having, not having. So what happens is they get the funding, it dissipates through their hands, and then they're wondering, how do I get more? How do I get more? Now they got a running story. Well, this happened. Something came up. I couldn't find a deal. Deals don't exist. Where are the deals? I didn't have no money. Then they start doing all the mind tricks. Many of your business experts say this. Oh, don't use personal credit. Use business credit. At the end of the day, see, that statement can only be made to someone who financially is not literate, because I went into, and I gave this example last week, whereas buy a mortgage note for 16,000, get a stream of income that's going to passively come to you, because every time that person pays the bank, they don't know that the bank is you are the bank, and they're passively paying you every month their mortgage payment. Do it really freaking matter if I purchase the real estate note with personal credit or business credit? No, it don't matter, because I converted that money from my personal financial statements and I transferred it into it becoming on my business financials. Because at the time that I buy that real estate note, I'm buying it in its own business entity, and now it is an asset on the books. And yes, do I have the debt because I leveraged it from the personal side? But at the end of the day, I own an asset. And that's a whole nother video. And it's a video that I will talk about on another day. But it's an asset that, as long as it's managed properly, is earning money. And I said this last week, assets, assets never have a problem getting access to capital. What has a problem getting access to capital is the individuals who have a shell of a company. They don't have a company. All they have is a free EIN and an LLC and a one and drive to invest in real estate. But there's nothing. There's no income. There's no they don't have assets. There's nothing. It's just a shell. And even though if they funnel the funding into that business, it literally will dissipate. It will dissipate. Why? Because at the end of the day, they never had the financial fortitude. Because remember, they were at the lowest level. The lowest level. How do I get money? How do I get money? They're in a state of not having. They don't know how to transition into, let me just get into the state of having. That let me learn how to just run a business. Let me try to understand how real estate works. Let me get into that state. And then once I get into that state and I get access to the money, I now know what to do with it. So that's really how you measure value. Very clear on what it is that you want. It's really that simple because value is subjective. Was value to one person, going back to, like I said, the levels of value. If I'm at the lowest level, how do I get some money? How I get some credit? How I do this? I just need somebody. Show me how to get it. How to rob the bank? How to get the bag? How to run the play? If I'm at this level, and I know that I may not even know. Let me just take that back. I don't even know that there's a whole nother level of I never even have to have access to money. That as long as I always know how to communicate a deal to individuals who do have money, to individuals who are looking to earn a return on their own money, as long as I know how to communicate that, I'll never be without. I'll never be without because there will always be someone who is always looking to lend their money, whether it's a bank. I've said that before. There's no shortages of banks lending, or whether that's a person, or whether that's an entity, a self-directed IRA. Because remember, the person who's at the I just need to get some money. I just need to get some credit. How do I rob the bank? How do I get the bag? Da, 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 da. I just need to get it. I just have to get it. How do I do it? They are not at the level of the person who understands how deals work. And now that person who's up here who could communicate how deals work, they have access to deals. They can communicate effectively how a person can get return on their money. Those are two different individuals. So that's why I say value is subjective. Because most people, when it comes to online, and for those who are just joining me, that's where most people are at. I'm going to call a spade a spade. So I tell people, I'm definitely not your person. If you're that person who's scurrying around the internet like, what's the secrets lenders list? How do I get a credit card? How do I do this? How do I rob the bank? How do I play run the play? How do I get the bag? I'm not your person. Because I'm talking high level stuff. I'm talking high level. Like I know that getting access to capital ain't hard. Like that ain't something I need to prove to people. I don't have to prove that access to capital is hard. I don't have to prove to a person that you can invest in real estate without doing fix and flips, without buying holes, without being a landlord, because I'm doing it. So a lot of times I get it. Value is subjective. That's why you have to be very clear on what it is that you want. When I first got introduced, and I attached the video to my last video, but I'll do it here. When I first learned of how you can buy mortgage notes and be the bank, I didn't need nobody to convince me. I just needed to know. I didn't even know it was possible. But when I heard the person talk about the possibilities and what's to come and the things that you could possibly do, still be in a position of earning passive income, still be in a position of ownership, still being in a position of control, but I don't have to fix and flip no properties. I don't fix and flip. I don't sling no hammers. I don't do no buy and holds. Um, I'm interested in cash flow. That's what I want. I'm interested in cash flow. Goes back to value, subjective. If I'm interested in cash flow and I'm interested in passive income, I can have somebody sitting right in front of me mapping out the whole game on how to do fix and flips, get the bag, the whole nine from soup to nuts. But if that's not what I want and that's not what I'm interested in, it's going to fall on deaf ears. So even me. So when that person says, I don't see value in what you do, I get it. I am not going to see value in somebody telling me how to invest in Airbnbs. I don't care how pretty you put it. I don't care how pretty you put it about rehabs and fix and flips and swinging hammers and dealing with construction workers. Don't care. Don't want to do it. I like being in the investor seat. I like being the bank. I like being a lien holder. I like getting cash flow. I don't want to own the property. I want to control it. I want to control it. So as you embark into the rest of 2023, as you go into the fourth quarter, be very clear on how you measure value. Value is subjective. Value is subjective. There's no right, there's no wrong, but just be very clear on what you want, what you don't want. And whatever you want is possible. As long as you're in the state of having, most people don't have. And they're really thinking that they're going to be people who are going to convince you. I tell prospects, I tell clients all the time, if you think a lender going to get on the phone with you and convince you that funding is possible or convince you that buying real estate is possible, keep waiting. They're not going to do it. You have to know that you know. Now, you may not even be in position to do any plays. Right now, the only play that you probably can do is a play that doesn't require capital. But knowing what's possible and doing the work and being in a state of having can get you much further than you being in a state of how do I do it? 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 How do I get the bag? How do I run the play? Da, 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 da. It just it leads you to a place of nowhere. And what happens is you just scurry around, running, waiting for somebody to teach you the magic trick, the magic play, how to run how to get the bag. You get frustrated. Your belief system is lower. You don't even think it's possible, and then you just go to one thing to another, to one thing to another. Then you start mind screwing yourself, and then you never obtain what it is that you want. You never obtain it. So, of course, I wouldn't be Lorelia if I did not share what I have going on. If you are interested in what I just talked about, going into we're going into the fourth quarter. And so what I'm doing is I'm doing a deal challenge, and the way this deal challenge goes is I'm helping people to be able to secure and get access to their next deal or their first deal. And I'm going to share with you what you need to do to position yourself along with how you're going to structure the financing to be able to move forward and do it. So if you have started 2023 saying, this is what I want to do, but I'm not quite there because you're still looking for someone to give you a magic formula, there's no magic formulas. It takes work. It's going to require work. But I'm literally going to show you what it takes. And I'm even going to pull the curtain back on what I'm doing, how I'm buying, mortgage notes from the bank, performing and non-performing, what I'm doing to be able to get access to capital to be able to move forward on those deals. So I'm even pulling the curtain back on what I'm doing, because people always want to know, oh, what you doing? What you doing? I have no problems with showing you, but understand this is not no I'm going to teach you how to fix and flip. This is literally how to get your deals and how to analyze them to get the funding, because at the end of the day, that is what I do. I help people get access to six figures in funding to invest in real estate using alternative financing. And I talk about, and I'm going to share with you the business funding capital stack. What's the best funding for you to be able to access to be able to do the deal you want. But at the end of the day, it all starts with the deal. How to find the deal. How to find the deal. The money doesn't come first, it's the deal. Because most people don't even know how much money they want. Because remember, they're at the lowest level. How do I get the money? How do I get the money? The money's not needed. You need to understand the deal. Because if you're ever looking to elevate and get to the point of being able to use other people's monies, whether it's investors, whether it's people who have self-directed IRA that raise, and like I tell people when I talk about the business funding capital stat, their eyes get all big. Oh man, how can I get up to that private equity? You can't get up to there if you have never been able to do your own deal. What you're not gonna be able to communicate your value. How are you going to be able to communicate it being valuable for yourself, for that person? Because at the end of the day, most people only tune into their own radio station, and their own radio station is WW, what's in it for me? That's what people want to know. What's in it for themselves? So once again, this is Lorelia. If it's something you're interested in, go to apply. You'll see it right here on the screen at neverloseadeal.com. And if you're watching a replay, put replay. Let me hear your thoughts. And once again, like I said, hope this was of value to you. But value is subjective. I get that. But if it is of value, please let me know your thoughts and let me know what you think. So once again, until the next time, bye bye.